Scenes from Wembley is a mix of jubilation, tension, depending on who you're looking at. The fans already celebrating. The 10 minutes are up and the full-time whistle has gone, Connor Wickham. Crystal Palace have won their first major trophy. They've beaten Manchester City to win the FA Cup final.
This club's just going to go absolutely wild. I'm so happy for them, man. I'm so happy for Steve and the owners. I know how much they've put into it, and look, you can just see, man.
We're seeing amazing scenes. Ebere Eze has gone down to his knees. He is looking up to the skies. Fans in the stands have taken their tops off. To a man, to a woman, they've got their phones out. They're filming these celebrations. Oliver Glasner has switched out of his suit into his lucky jumper, and it's proved worthwhile. The luck has counted for Crystal Palace, and they have won their first major trophy. But Manchester City and Erling Haaland look crestfallen.
They are, but I mean, Palace have done a job on them today. They've done exactly what they needed to do. They soaked up the pressure. They got them on the counter-attack, defended well, and looked comfortable for the majority of the game, even though City had most of the possession. And sometimes that's just what you need with the penalty save and, you know, the early miss from Haaland, the good save from Henderson. I think every Palace player there has been absolutely outstanding, and I think they've got what they fully deserve today. I'm so happy for this team, man.
They've performed brilliantly. They've gone out and won this trophy. Daniel Munoz had an assist for the Eze goal. He also had a goal disallowed himself. He was given the Player of the Match award, and he's now celebrating with all of his teammates and indeed commiserating with Josko Gvardiol as well. And Pep Guardiola's made his way on and is now shaking hands with all of the Crystal Palace players. Many of them have never experienced a feeling like this.
Yeah, I think this is going to be something that's going to be new to all of them, but I think this is what the club has been building towards. I think, you know, the infrastructure they're putting in place with the academy, the players, the squad, the first team building, I think the investments they're making, this makes everything worthwhile. And I think this is just going to, you know, propel the club to a whole new level, and this is nothing short of what they deserve. The managers come in this season, I don't think many people really knew what to expect, but he's absolutely masterminded it today. And, you know, I don't think watching these scenes do it any justice to being in that stadium at this moment in time.
What a job Oliver Glasner has done. A proven winner with Eintracht Frankfurt. He beat Rangers to win the Europa League a couple of seasons ago. He'll be playing in that competition with his new club, Crystal Palace. Never, ever competed in Europe. They will do next season. And the scenes of celebration are absolutely remarkable. Jean-Philippe Mateta is leading the dance on the field. Dean Henderson and all of the sub-goalkeepers are there. They're now over the barricades, in with the fans. The famous Holmesdale Ultras are all celebrating with them. Wonderful, wonderful scenes. Worth pointing out, I've just been told by one of our producers that there were words had between Pep Guardiola and Dean Henderson. Now that will, I would imagine, relate to the handball decision. Dean Henderson clearly handled the ball outside the area when Erling Haaland was bearing down on goal. VAR looked at it. No red card. Controversial one for everybody in the office here. What was your view of that?
I think it is, at the end of the day, by the book, it is a sending off. I mean, but that's sometimes the luck you need. And he's gone on to save the penalty, make a very good amount of good saves. He's had a brilliant game, yeah.
Still having words, Pep Guardiola.
Yeah, I think, you know, at the end of the day, he's got lucky. And that's sometimes what you need in this game. And this happens to be this one game of the season where, you know, there's a trophy riding on it.
Yeah, a trophy riding on it. It's Manchester City's first trophyless season since Pep Guardiola's first season, 2016-17. So used to lifting silverware at Manchester City, but it won't be happening this season. All of their focus will shift back to the Premier League and trying to finish as high up as they can, get into the Champions League. But today is all about Crystal Palace. We will find out exactly what Pep Guardiola had to say to Dean Henderson and what his thoughts are on some of the decisions on the field when we have the press conferences a little bit later on. We will bring you all of that right here on Sky Sports News. These celebrations are going to go on, you would imagine, in that stadium for at least another hour and then long into the night in London. I know you've got your own plans.
I know this party is going to last for not just tonight, this is going to last for weeks.
It certainly will.
Going to be, that part of London is going to be a very good night if you're heading there tonight. But
Ebere Eze has etched his name into Crystal Palace history, and Crystal Palace have etched their name onto the FA Cup trophy. They've beaten Manchester City by 1-0 at Wembley. The trophy lift is to come. Half of the stadium is thinning out rapidly, as it always does. The light blue half, they're all funneling out down Wembley Way, but those in the red and blue end, the Crystal Palace end, they will not be leaving. Congratulations, Crystal Palace, it says on the big screen. They're still dancing a jig. You've got Gary Cahill in there dancing with Dean Henderson. Amazing scenes, and we will continue to cover the fallout from this with Crystal Palace winning their first trophy. They've won the FA Cup. Our first reaction to the FA Cup win for Crystal Palace. Pep Guardiola is Manchester City's beaten manager.
Your thoughts after that? I saw you stayed on the pitch afterwards to watch Palace lift the trophy. What were you thinking about that and this season in that moment?
Well, congratulations Crystal Palace for the first FA Cup. In his history, they play a good defensive game, and we control the transition, that the incredible threat, except the goal and one more, and of course difficult to control in the throw-ins, in the free kicks, and especially corners. But yeah, we could not score in the last two games, so we play better than Southampton game. We were more active. We were, I would say, really, really good in many things. We create a lot. We didn't score, and that's why we couldn't win.
Pep, there were a couple of contentious moments. Firstly, Dean Henderson.
Yeah, they asked me, so ask to the referee and the VAR.
Did you feel it should have been a sending off?
Ask to them. So
we didn't get the chance to speak to them, unfortunately.
Me neither.
Can I ask about Erling Haaland not taking the penalty? Why was
they
that?
decide on the pitch, so I don't know. I didn't speak with them. I don't know.
Obviously, you seem to create enough chances to win 2 or 3 matches today. What?
Sorry?
It seemed like you created enough chances today to win 2 matches.
With 11 players in the penalty box, we create a lot.
But you've only scored once in 3 games now. What can you put your finger on?
Yeah, I think we fixed in the last month the problem that we had all the season defensively in scoring goals. But we didn't score, the opponent didn't score. We gave away a lot of goals. And in the last period, we were so stable. We conceded 5 goals in 9 games. So we are stable that we didn't create much. But yeah, lately we are not able. I'm not saying it's easy. Against Southampton, 11 players there. But we learn for many years, so we need good crosses, good people in the box, and I thought the game will be quite similar. I didn't expect as much, but I think it was quite similar for Southampton, and that I put more players in the box with proper wingers, 2-against-1, because Savinho, the first 10 minutes, second half was brilliant, and Jeremy all the game was brilliant as always. And Omar and Erling in the box for the second ball, some clever actions from behind, from Nico arriving or Kevin. And we create with him. Now, I don't know, it's much more in that position, because they don't have time always every, goal kick and every action is take time, they take out to the rhythm, and sometimes it's difficult to come back. But I think the chances were there in Southampton, no, especially second half, but the first half was not. But today was there, the chances was there, but we could not score. Sometimes football, it's happened.
Pep, you said that the players took the decision on the pitch on who should take the penalty. I remember a couple of years ago, Haaland handing a penalty over to Gundogan, and you weren't very happy. You said that he's your penalty taker and you want him to take the penalty kicks. Were you equally unhappy today, or were you happy to allow the players to decide?
I want to take it. We didn't speak it. So there are questions that in the meetings and wherever there are things that is already for them, but that moment for the free kicks or penalties, especially, is how the feeling, how you feel. And they decided, they saw that Omar was ready to take it. I think Omar took a lot of time, with the ball stop, should be out to take the ball and after kick, to don't put more pressure on himself, and Henderson make a good save.
Hi Pep. You gave Claudio Echeverri the debut today, having never been on the bench before. What was the kind of the thinking, the inspiration behind?
My inspiration. I'm a talent manager.
Was it a dream?
Come true.
I mean, you always say how difficult it is to leave
I want
players out.
to be honest. I was not a bad decision. So the way he played, the chances that he had 3 chances in small spaces. I thought that because I saw him in a training session since then, and that listen, there is Kusanov, Victor, and him last 4 or 5 games always in the tribune, and I don't like that. I know maybe it's special because it's a facup. It should go to the other ones, but he's moving really, really well in small spaces. So creative in that. And I thought during the game that the last minute, so, to find something with this type of games, when they defend 11 in the box, is question. If I take the ball, I dribble once, make 1-2, shoot, and score a goal. So the other option is make a crosses, but that is, I think, Crystal Palace love it. And he had the first shoot that normally is so clever there, and so precise, and after have 1 or 2 more, like Nico have 2 more, and Kevin the first half, and Erling another one, so the penalties, we had the chances, but unfortunately we could not score.
Hi Pep, can I ask about the decision to play Bernardo and Kevin as the holding midfielders? Was that because Kovacic was injured?
Yeah.
And
otherwise Kova would play, but he was injured. No.
Do you think
injured? He doesn't feel good.
Do you think that ended up influencing the game towards kind of helping Palace, that not having?
Sorry.
Do you think that having just one holding midfielder in Bernardo?
I think we didn't suffer, right? Defensively, I was thinking, Kevin and Bernardo holding midfielders and the other one, but like I expect a game in that way. I want Kevin in that position to deliver some balls. Unfortunately, we could not find him in the position that we wanted, but in the right side, as they defend deeper than Sar. That's why Nico in the left side, we had more spaces to attack. But yeah, the game plan, it didn't work because it didn't win. So, but I think in general I don't have anything. In Southampton, I had bad feeling. But today I don't have. Of course, we are sad because we have FA Cup. How nice is this Wembley, and the anthem and the stadium, the 2 crowds. It's so beautiful, lovely day. So we are here. We play to win. We play much better. For example, that again we play 5-2 at home, and much better than the last season when we lose against United. Today we did everything. We don't concede absolutely few. We had the possession to create chances. We could create more, yeah, but it's not easy. I'd say that it's not easy with 18 players there, and yeah, continue. Now it's rest, recover quick for the last 2 finals that we have to next season play in Champions League.
Do Mike before the embargo goes.
Just a couple of questions. I mean, do you think when Henderson stays on the pitch, it's almost destiny that he's going to save the penalty? Is that inevitably?
Wow, I don't know. I didn't study about the destinies, about the universe and this kind of thing, so I don't know. I don't know is the reason why, but listen, don't ask me about ask to the referee or the VAR, honestly.
Can I ask were you upset with, when you spoke to Henderson at the end, were you upset with their time wasting?
Listen, he defends his position, we defend our position. It's not wasting. I understand in the last minutes, but since the 1 or 2 minutes, he's British, to the English football, how to play. I'm sorry, everyone can do whatever they want. We have to score goals. We didn't lose because Anderson was time wasting. In the last minutes, I understand that. But after it's true, they gave 9 or 10 minutes extra time. So at the end is that, but it's question of rhythm, It's catch up for all the fans, are there to let the 22 players play. So when you see Barcelona now, they're losing, attack, and the other team attack. The show is beautiful, It's only. But I understand his position. When they defend, don't want to get it. Okay, it's question of the referee, It's not question mine, because we don't have the rhythm that maybe you need, again. And I understand when you're 92 minutes, 86, 87, But I don't feel it. So my teams, I never try because I try to. Play the game like the people deserve to watch. That's all. Saying that, congratulations Henderson and Crystal Palace, because at the end they defend really, really well and we were not able to score a goal.
Martin, please.
Hi, Pep. You've got this game, this quick turnaround for Tuesday now. Is that a bigger game than this was in some ways, because there's so much riding on it, isn't there?
No, we have to recover quick. Yeah, it's a big disappointment today. Because of course we are here for the way. Listen, when we lose, when you play not good, you are sad, but at the end, we don't deserve it. But when you play the way, I'm sorry, with the final, the play we play, and the players gave absolutely everything, and we create like we create. Not necessarily because they didn't see the stats or whatever, but this game is about to score a goal. So we didn't score, we don't have defense, you know? We don't have defense, so we didn't score. Congratulations, Crystal Palace. And now, of course, we don't have much time to recover and prepare an important game from against Bournemouth.
Hi, Pep. Very big summer ahead for you and the team and the club. Do you think it's maybe one of the biggest challenges you've had in your years at City to rebuild?
Right, we will leave Pep Guardiola there, understandably downcast. Manchester City manager after their FA Cup final 1-0 defeat to Crystal Palace. Many congratulations to Palace. It's their first ever major trophy.
Disappointed, obviously, you lost. So, I think if you watch realistically, I didn't think we played a bad game, but yeah, they had the one good chance in the beginning. They scored and defended really well. But we had enough chances to score. We didn't do it today, and that's unfortunate.
Do you think Dean Henderson maybe should have had a red card when he handled the ball?
Yeah, probably yes, but yeah, what are we going to change about it?
And you had a penalty as well. I mean, you had great golden chances really to win it.
No, like I said, I think we had enough chances to score. You know, we had a couple in the first half, we had a penalty, we had a couple in the second half, so we should have scored, but we didn't.
It's strange for a season with City not winning a trophy, still the Club World Cup. Is that something you can redeem the season with?
I don't know. You know, of course, it's not been the season that we wanted. You know, we want to win all the time, but this season we have not done it. So you have to take it on the chin, and sometimes it doesn't go the way that you want to. But we tried, and yeah, you have to move on.
And for you, bowing out now at City, this not the way you wanted to go, presumably.
Yeah, but it doesn't affect what we've done in 10 years. You know, I think comparing to a lot of players, I've won way more than other players. So I will be forever happy and grateful what we have done as a team, what they have given me. So you know that doesn't change with not winning today.
Kevin, are you still hungry to play at this level and in this league?
I want to play good football. You know, whatever the decision will be. I know you're trying to guess where I'm going to go, but I will make my decision. You guys know when I know.
Would you still love this league, though? Would you like to stay here, ideally?
I don't know. It depends who comes, and depends. You know, I don't. Like I said to my Belgian colleagues, you know, I have a family. I have young kids. You know, I have to take care of a decision what suits everybody of us, not just me. You know, when I'm 20 years old all by myself, I can make a decision that is very easy. But now it's a bit more complex.
Have you had any conversations yet with clubs or?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
You know.
But I mean, when can we expect a decision or?
Whenever I'm ready to make one. As long as I don't know, I can't tell you.
An English club?
Maybe.
More than just an appearance in the FA Cup final and go on to lift the trophy, taking down Manchester City in the process.
Well, it's easy as Eze does it. This is a guy, Eberechi Eze, who's been playing out of his mind. And I think Oliver Glasner, as we saw the importance, and we were talking about the importance of Michael Olise last season, he's taken up that mantle. The guy is scoring goals, but he's creating everything. Goals, attacks, everything come through him in transition. The next, Arsenal are not the true set-piece kings of the Premier League. Crystal Palace actually are, and they're damn good at it. They're level with Arsenal on set-piece goals, and as of late, they've been getting goals. They got 2 against Man City in their last 2 meetings, and that is a weakness for City.
Do they have a set-piece coach?
No, they just do it, and Glasner is the one who cooks it. You don't really need one, do you? The last one, ruthless on the counter. So going back to the 5-2 loss at the Etihad, it was 2-0 Palace. Ismaila Sarr is right there in front of the goal, and he skies it over. That would have been 3-0 in the first 30 minutes against the reigning Premier League champion and the team that everyone says should steamroll Crystal Palace. They didn't take advantage of that opportunity. They had 2 more before half, and Man City comes back. If you're not ruthless in a cup final, you end up on the losing end. So that is the most important thing for me.
Well, let's see the way that these two teams will line up against each other. Zach, I want to get your thoughts first on what matchups or what players you're really looking at in this in the All-22.
It's not so much a matchup, it's more so a standout player with De Bruyne. I feel his last game at Wembley, hopefully he can put on a performance for us. It'd be great to send him off with some silverware, which the manager and the rest of the team would love to send him off for what he's done for Man City. So I'm looking out for a great performance from him today. On the weekend, sorry.
For me, I'm actually going to choose the right backs instead of the left backs because I can actually point at the right backs. Munoz and Nico O'Reilly. Nico O'Reilly, his breakout performances have come in FA Cup. The amount of goal contributions, scoring, assists have been remarkable, really. One of the youngsters that it's up and coming. He can play in inside channels, centrally, out wide as well. And he likes getting high, and Munoz likes Munoz, we've seen him go on these galloping runs into the central channels, finishing off plays very high on the right-hand side. A lot of similar attributes in both of these players, so I'm just intrigued to see how they match up in this game, especially when we could imagine perhaps Crystal Palace sitting a little bit further back.
Yeah, I think, Nico, you hit it right on the head with the importance of Munoz, another player who's been outstanding for them. Can I reach it?
Oh, get out of here. I thought you were going to talk about Tyreek Mitchell, bro. Get out of here.
Please lift him up.
That was hyperbolic.
Michael Hyperbolic Lahoud. That's what I'm here for. No, but Wharton is a big one. He's been battling an ankle injury and should be fit for the final. If not, you got to get him fit for the final.
What if he's not, though? What if it's Lerma and Hughes, for example?
That puts a lot more impetus on Daichi Kamada to fill that role. Wharton's passing range is so important to get the ball out wide, the diagonals. On the goal they scored, I think it was the first goal they scored against City. It was a diagonal from Wharton to Munoz, who takes the first touch. Manchester City struggle with early service. And that front three of Mateta, Sarr, and Eze, right now, I'm struggling to find a front three in the last 2 months that are cooking in the Premier League as good as they are. They're scary with early service and they're getting goals.
All right, well, let's bring in our CBS Sports EPL correspondent, Jeff Shreves, to get his thoughts on this matchup. Jeff, how big of an upset would it be if Crystal Palace got the win tomorrow?
Oh, it'd be absolutely huge, but I've got to say, I think they've got more than a puncher's chance because they are in good form right now. That back three, be interested to know Zach's thought on Gay, Lacroix and Richards because they're a really tight unit and they defend for their life. They defend shamelessly. They are a super tight unit. Wharton, obviously the playmaker as well. Mateta's on fire too. So I honestly think they've got a really good chance. And, you know, as we said, Manchester City are not coming off the best of seasons. It was actually described as catastrophic by Erling Haaland. And he himself, 5 visits to Wembley, never scored a goal there. You saw Pep Guardiola's face after that frustrating draw with Southampton. Really, really not happy at all. So, you know, they've done better towards the end of the season, but they are not still back to the Manchester City of old as yet. And I mentioned Chris Richards. What is he attempting to become the third of tomorrow?
I mean, I'm trying to imagine he's the third American to win FA Cup.
Okay, can you name the other two?
Oh.
Yes.
Tim Howard.
And
which year? I'll give you that.
Jeez.
2004.
Jeff wants all the details.
I'm going to make something up.
2009.
2004, Manchester United.
Okay.
And who's the
I was
other?
gonna say
Nico in particular. You style yourself as the great font of knowledge, the guru.
Zach Steffen is what I would say.
Ooh.
Nope.
Ooh.
American.
Oh, I love this. Can the whole segment now just become this? Hold up.
American.
Okay, I'll give you a clue. Born in Boston, he was also described as a poet, a novelist, and a lyricist. He won the inaugural FA Cup
get out of
with
here.
Wanderers in 1873. A gentleman by the name of Julian Sturgis.
Streams, it sounded like you're almost saying Paul Revere when you were starting that, but clearly, that's
So long ago, the pictures are black and white.
I've got to tell you, it was a great game. I enjoyed watching him play as well. Honestly, I have to give great credit to Jason Burt in the Daily Telegraph, who wrote this piece today. He sat down with Chris Richards and he told him about it. And Richards is a history buff, if you like. He read up on the history of the competition in Crystal Palace. I think it's a lovely, lovely story to have won it, the very first one in 1873. He was also not just the first American, he was the first foreigner as well to play in the final. So it's a lovely story, and I'm sure, don't forget, he won't start, but Matt Turner could come on for some reason and become the fourth.
Yeah, not bad. Oh, I love these nuggets, Jeff. That was awesome. All right, listen, I'm going to ask you two quick questions. 0 to 100, sure. How much % chance do you give Crystal Palace?
I'm going to have a cheeky little bet on them, Nico. I just fancy them to cause an upset, and it would be an upset. I think they are extremely resilient. They've never won a trophy. It's a massive deal to them, and I don't think by any stretch of the imagination that Manchester City will underestimate them. And this means a lot to Man City as well. As Erling Haaland said, in this terrible season, we've got to win something. Also interesting as well, he said, look, you can talk about injuries and stuff like that, but we simply haven't run enough as a team. Now, to hear a player say that is really, that's quite something. I think, as I said right at the top, I think Palace have got more than a puncher's chance because they're also a team that's extremely well organised and they're well coached too.
So, 0 to 100%, given everything that you said about Crystal Palace, how much do you think all of England is rooting for Crystal Palace tomorrow?
Oh, of course. Outside of Manchester City, of course they are. Having said that, though, don't forget, Nico, if Manchester City were to win it, the Europa League place would go to 8th in the Premier League, and tied on points, we've got Brighton and Brentford, so they're probably hoping for a City win. I mean, certainly Brighton, who, as we know, despise Crystal Palace, so they'll all have their Man City tops on at the weekend. So, look, it's a wonderful, wonderful competition. It'll be a great occasion, and it would be a really important victory for either team. Definitely a much bigger deal for Crystal Palace because, as I say, they've never won a trophy of note, and it would be just a terrific story.
Jeff, on the other side of things, Manchester City, we're not used to seeing them in this position. It's been a poor season, and poor is being quite kind, especially from what you and Nico have said. What would this season mean if they were to get this FA Cup and potentially get Champions League football as well?
I think that they're two separate things, Lahoud. I think they will get Champions League football, and I think in their minds they'll know that as well. This is, if you like, this is the glory shot. They're not going to turn around and say, yes, it was a great season, we won the FA Cup. They're not going to say that. Again, Erling Haaland said the club set the bar so high. That's what makes this a catastrophic season. You can think of a number of clubs, if they won the FA Cup and qualified for the Champions League, they'd say, terrific, that's fantastic, that would be a great season for us. It's by their imperious standards that this has been an incredible fall from grace. So I still think the FA Cup is an important trophy. They take it seriously. They advance far into the competition every year. So they're going to want this. They are going to want it. But will it make it a good season? No.
All right, Jeff, I'm going to wrap this up by getting your quick score prediction for this game. Commit to a score prediction. What is it?
2-1 Palace.
United team that's starting here tonight was playing every week, that they would be in the same position?
Well, I don't know. That's obviously Garnacho, you think he might come in for the final next week. But obviously it's not in this manager's watch. They've lost 17 league games. They lost 14 league games last year. So it's not a difficult few months to have them where you go into European competition, the injuries. This has been going on for, since last season. So this group, they don't know how to compete week in, week out. So you can sit here and go, well, if they had all their best players available, but injuries and suspensions is part of the demands of being a top footballer. This is the bit that I don't get. I think when you're playing for the big clubs, there's a reason why you're playing for a big club. Obviously, you think you're good enough, but that you turn up week in, week out. That's the sign of a great player to me. Greatness. And I look at these players, and it's every week they don't seem to, they don't know how to compete. The demands of playing for Man United. And again, to lose that many games this year, you could write this off and go, okay, listen, it happened. But it's on the back of 14 league game defeats last season. So they've got into extremely bad habits. And I think the manager, he's a very likeable guy, he's very honest, and he seems to be the biggest critic. But I think his head must be spinning. I reckon he can't wait to get to the summer. Obviously, fingers crossed they get into Europe.
Of course, he didn't want to start until the summer.
No,
in the
and you
first
could
place.
see why. He was probably thinking, listen, I don't want to go into that mess
read the
just
script,
yet.
didn't he?
Yeah, he probably looked at it, but obviously United said, we want you now. And obviously it's going to be a big summer coming up, but we've said that the last few summers. We say that for most clubs. Recruitment is key, getting the right players in, the right characters, and getting lads out. But I think he'll obviously be glad to see the back of this season. I think, listen, his head must be spinning from day one. When you look at his first game at Ipswich, they drew, and they could have lost that game, and I bet he's thinking, what is going on here? I've come to Man United. Maybe he was expecting a lot more from these players. And he's mentioned during the week as well, the players training and bad habits and the messages coming out about this group of players.
He was angry last week.
Yeah, it's not good. It's not good message. And I'm going back to the last month or two where some of the games they've just written off. They've said, no, but we'll focus on next week. I've never heard so much chat from a club about next week's game. Again, what about the game today? It'll be interesting how they turn up tonight. They've got a final next week. You'd like to think there might be one or two places up for grabs, or you want some momentum to go into the final, whether you get momentum from one game, I don't know. But it'll be interesting to see their mentality tonight in terms of competing with Chelsea, who Chelsea have a lot to play for tonight more than United in terms of league.
They are creating unwanted records this season. They've already managed a couple, and there's a couple more within their grasp. The fewest wins, points, and most defeats. They will all be set this season. They are 7 behind the fewest goals they've ever scored, and 5 from also making it the worst defensively season. And if they don't win either this week or next at home to Aston Villa, it will be if they don't win tonight, it'll be their most without a win as well. There'll be scars, Jamie, from those records. But do you think a summer of overhaul, he changed 12 players in his first summer at Sporting Lisbon. Is it going to take that sort of number again to get this football club back on the right track?
But that's not going to happen in one window, because you can't just, in a day and age, you can't say, look, you can leave now, because players want paying up with their contracts. There's going to a lot that's going to go into that.
Does that have to be almost the policy?
Possibly,
even if it does cost them.
But it's going to take time. And I think what they've done in the past is they've just gone for the quick fix. Maybe, okay, there's a couple of players there, they'll do us, they'll fix it, we'll plug a few gaps, and then all of a sudden we're going to be fine. It doesn't work like that. You need to make sure you've got to bring in the right players, the right people that are going to change the culture. Roy said it there. When he talks about in training, the training's not been good or things aren't right on the training field, you have no chance. People have to set good examples every day. The senior players have to set the right examples. So something has to change in that respect. But I do think, I don't know, I like him. I think he talks. Sometimes his honesty gets in his own way because he just wants it so badly. You can see that. But there is something about him that I like. I think he will get it right, and they have an opportunity to still get Champions League football even after this disastrous season. So they can make it end up being an okay season. Never going to be good enough for Manchester United. You should never lose 17 games in a season at a club of that enormity. But this is going to take a lot of time. And then they need to, you can't also keep just sacking managers. I never once believed in Eric Ten Hag was the man that was really going to take the club forward. But for whatever reason, I look at him and I think, yeah, he has something about him.
At some point, bro, he's going to have to win games, isn't he?
Yeah, you got to win the odd game. That does help. And when you're moving players on from Sporting Lisbon, I'm pretty sure they want on 200 or 300 grand a week.
Exactly, yeah.
That's the challenge for him as well. If he's trying to move the big hitters on, they'll just be sitting there, and rightly so, they're under contract. But you've got to win the odd game. Again, we look at them stats. Again, if you're a player in that dressing room, and them stats, obviously, they'll be thrown at you week in, week out. I just think, what must the players be thinking? What must be the vibe in the dressing room? They must be, I go back, they must be embarrassed by it. But obviously they've got that get out of jail card.
Can you imagine being in a Manchester United dressing room where defeat was acceptable? Which it is felt like that has been the case in recent weeks.
I make the point about competing, and people always talk about my time in the dressing room, but I was in other dressing rooms. I was in Nottingham Forest. I was in an Irish dressing room for years. I was a Celtic. I played for other teams. But what you want in your dressing room is a group of players. They're going to go back to good habits. You can't win every week. But what I don't get over the last month or two when I've seen them up in Newcastle is the lack of fight. They're not competing. You can forgive players having a bad time. You can forgive teams for losing. Of course, that's the name of the game. But my goodness, when you have the manager coming out most weeks saying, Again, the manager's scratching his head and he's working with him closely. Again, I go back to it. I reckon when he came from Lisbon, and he said that basically in his first week when he done the Ipswich match, saying he's never done so many media interviews. I think his head's spinning from the demands of being a Man United manager, and I reckon he's looking at this group of players, and I know he's been positive a little bit there about looking forward to next season, but not with this team. Don't think for 1 minute this team's going to be top 4, top 5. Not with the habits they've got. They've got some quality. We see Bruno there. But forget about United compete.
So it's culture. It's culture.
Well, it has to be part of it, of course.
So how long does it take then to change that culture, and how long?
And better players.
And how long can a manager go without winning games? It's 3 wins in 24 matches that he's had against teams that are going to be in the Premier League next season.
Yeah, that tells you, no matter what the culture you go to, like, you need better players. You need 1 or 2. I like Bruno. I think he's a player that you can build the team around. I mean, Mason Mount has been ravaged with injuries. Is he the player that's going to make a difference in this squad? Maybe you're certainly going to give him next year, that's for sure.
But Jamie,
there's others you already know that
full
aren't good
season.
enough.
He gets the full season.
Yeah, he gets the full season, but there's others you know they're not going to be good
But I
enough.
ask you, when you talk about the culture, and rolls off our tongue here, the culture, what are the senior players doing? That's why I point the finger at Bruno and these other players, not their talent.
Doesn't the culture actually start higher than that?
No, I think it comes from the senior players. Oh, listen, I sound like Graham
The leadership.
Souness. Yeah, it comes from that. Yeah, but the group, the dressing room, senior players run the show. That's what you do. That's why they're so important. That's why people say you need good senior players who've got good habits. We've spoken about players at other clubs over the years, people like Gerrard or Lampard here, great quality, but they drive the quality in training, how you prepare for training. You don't let people off the hook. When the manager's coming out, like you said earlier, going, oh, I'm not getting good vibes in the training, you're like, well, what is going on at the training ground? Because you have to train how you play. Don't think for 1 minute you can take it easy on a Monday to Friday and turn up on a Saturday and expect to perform at this level. It doesn't happen. The odd player can do it. People like Messi and Ronaldo can maybe do it the odd time, but the top teams turn up every day and train properly. And that is driven, it's not driven by the younger players, trust me, because they're learning their trade. It's driven by the senior players.
And the standards, yeah.
The standards in trade, of course.
1 or 2 of those senior players, as you've seen, are back in the starting lineup tonight.
He's a really clever player, and he's 17 years old now, and I'm really matured about this. A lot of things, and of course you can see in every training he has some special moments, and when you see this, it's really it's unbelievable and good to see this. But at the end, also I think also he has potential to improve, and he has to do that. He has to train, to work hard, and also for him the same like the other players. Barcelona. No, I said it before. It's not about one guy or one. Of course, we have really good players. Lamine is one, but we also have fantastic players. But the most important thing is that everyone knows how to work for this team, for this amazing team, and this is for me much more important. This is for me the most important thing. It's you feel like really a family. It's very fantastic. Everyone in this club has his job, and he's doing great with a lot of passion, with really good attitude, mentality, and everyone knows how important he is also for this club, for this team, and this helps me a lot to reach our goals, and of course the players, the atmosphere in the dressing room. This is so great. I never had this before, because it's really fantastic to see this, and everyone takes care about they take care about each other, and it's really good to see. So this is maybe in a small sentence this what I think it's unique.
With you, obviously the season isn't done just yet, still plenty to play for, but how have you found it?
Yeah, I think unbelievable season for us. Quarterfinals of the Champions League, falling short in the FA Cup, which we were really disappointed about. But collectively coming down to last 2 games of the season to fight for Champions League again. I think all Villa fans will be really happy with that.
Let's get into that point in the season where you're having to vote, obviously secretly, for who your player of the season would be. So excluding yourself, come on, give us an insight. Who would you say Aston Villa's player of the season has been?
I would say Morgan Rogers. There's a few names that I could mention as well. Yuri's been unbelievable, but I think Morgan, to see where he's come from, obviously last year he joined in January and then he's made the step up and he's made it look easy really. This is his first full season playing in the Premier League, but he's going to have a lot more seasons ahead of him, and I can't speak highly enough of him really. So powerful, hard-working, skillful, he's got the lot really, so yeah, I'd say.
Feels like there's been so many standout characters so far this season. Everyone's talking about how well gelled the team is. What do you put that team chemistry down to?
I think just from the way we train really. I think the manager's so demanding and of how we play, and I just feel like that brings the best out of players, and everyone kind of knows what everyone's going to do, so everyone's on the same wavelength, and like I said, yeah, it's been really positive this season.
And then of course in January a couple of new players come in, they hit the ground running as well, help build to that squad. How did you make them feel welcome and ensure that with that team chemistry they slotted straight in?
I think it's an easy changing room to walk into, to be honest. But yeah, I think those additions have helped us get to where we are. I think without signing them in January, I don't think we would be where we'd be. So yeah, credit to them really, and the manager obviously making them additions, and yeah, now it's focusing on the last 2 games of the season and seeing what happens with the Champions League squad.
It brings an added element of competition. When new players come in, when everyone's performing as they are this season, how's that been received amongst the squad, knowing that competition stepped up a bit?
Yeah, I think for us, sometimes it's been difficult because last season at times there would just be maybe 13 or 14 fit players, and there wasn't much rotation in the squad. Everyone knew what the starting 11 would be, week in, week out. So with the amount of games this year there's been the Champions League and in the league, like I said, FA Cup as well, you need that rotation, you need fresh legs for some games, and I feel like we've done that really well.
So interesting you bring that up, because that was actually my next question. You're a professional athlete, you've worked hard to get to the Premier League, you've got the mindset of a winner of course, and you're going to be the player that's scoring those winning goals in those big moments, but you've had to rotate a little bit more this season. How difficult has that been for yourself to slot into that?
Yeah, I think last season I played every minute, and I felt really good. Obviously this season I didn't have much of an off season, and sometimes you need to let the body rest. So the manager knows best really. Everyone has full trust in him, and as much as you want to play every minute, sometimes it's you've got to do what's best for the team, and yeah.
I love that raw emotion, that honesty from yourself as well. Everyone talked about it when you came out and said that you were fuming.
Yeah.
I mean, how do you reflect on those comments? Does that just make sure the manager sees that you're hungry to win and get out there?
Yeah, I think it wasn't in a disrespectful way. Obviously some people can take it like that, but for me it was just, I'm a footballer at the end of the day. That's my job, and if I'm not playing football then I'm not happy. So it was as simple as that really, and yeah, you want to be playing every game possible.
Did the boss get a knock on his door the next day to let him know, to have that conversation with him?
No, he didn't. There's no animosity between me and the boss. I have all faith in him and what he decides. So yeah.
That's what I love as well, because you've been through that before, the highs and lows of football. You'll know exactly how it feels, but when those big nights come again, when it's Champions League or big semi-finals or quarter-finals of different cup competitions as well, you'll be the man to step up and score those goals.
Yeah, let's hope so. So yeah, we've got Europe again, 3 seasons in a row. So next season I look forward to playing in the European competition. Depending which one it is. Hopefully it's the Champions League. But if not, yeah, we're still playing in Europe.
How do you find that bar that's been set for Aston Villa? Because Champions League football, the supporters want it, you want it as well, all of the team will want it. And now you want to hit that every single season. It feels like Aston Villa are becoming a club that are constantly doing that.
Yeah, I think that's the target at the end of the day. But there's always an expectation, and with expectation, sometimes there can be disappointment. So, look, I think for everyone at the club, that's the target. If we fall short, then you know it may be disappointing, but we're still playing European football, and then you have to set your eyes on winning something. So. Yeah, I think each year, obviously, like I said, there's going to be an expectation, but we've got to finish as high as we can.
And to do that, of course, you've got 2 more games left in the Premier League. You've got Spurs and Manchester United.
Yeah.
I mean, how difficult will it be to ensure you get maximum points from those games?
Yeah, really difficult. Two top teams that are playing in the European final. Their league position probably doesn't represent where they are as a club and the squad of players that they have, but you know, each game is difficult in the Premier League. You never can predict what's going to happen, so I think we just take each game as it comes, focus on the next game, and bring the energy to win that game.
And how will it feel to bring Champions League football back to Villa Park once again for the supporters, for yourself and the team at the end of this season?
Yeah, I think it'll be amazing. You know. I think everyone's kind of disappointed at the way we went out in the Champions League this year, because I felt like we performed really well, and we didn't want that journey to come to an end. So everyone's got their eyes set on that, and take that experience into next year, and hopefully be in that competition and go one more.
And I know that, of course, you'll just focus on one game at a time, one day at a time, one training session at a time. But when the season comes to an end, are you looking forward to a bit of a break? Because you've gone all the way through last season, through the summer, into this season. Will you get a bit of downtime?
Yeah, looking forward to just having a nice holiday, laying on the beach somewhere, relaxing. Yeah, and you just have to enjoy the moments where you get off to spend with your family and your friends, and make the most of it, because you don't get it often. So, I'll definitely enjoy.
And you'll blink and you'll be back at it again next season.
I know. running around the pitch doing doggies. So just got to enjoy when it comes.
Ollie, pleasure to speak to you. Busy couple of weeks to go. Good luck for it, and I look forward to seeing you next season as well.
Cool.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Thank you.
To look just at why he is in such demand.
Well, he's a hugely exciting player, isn't he? A goal scorer, a creator. He's flourished at Bayer Leverkusen, particularly in these last 2 seasons under Xabi Alonso, and we really see that with these stats from the last 2 seasons in the Bundesliga. So as you can see, he's got 23 assists in that time, which is the most of any player in the Bundesliga. He's second for final third passes, so that really highlights how influential he is at the top of the pitch. He's top for take-ons attempted, he's an excellent dribbler, he plays through balls, he's top for through balls, and then he's also top for possessions won in the final third, which is another asset, isn't it? That work rate, that ability to win the ball high up the pitch, that just adds to his appeal to the top clubs.
And adding to his appeal, the fact he is so young. I was just checking the date there. He just turned 22, I believe, a week or so ago.
Yeah, young player. He's racked up 200 appearances for Bayer Leverkusen already. He's an established Germany international, but he is still only 22 and really ranks as one of the best young attackers in Europe, no doubt about that. And this graphic really shows that, doesn't it? So this is goal involvements since last season by players under 23 in Europe's top 5 leagues. We've got the blue to represent goals and the red assists. Now, as you can see, Florian Wirtz here is on 44 combined, which puts him behind only Cole Palmer in Europe. So a really impressive total. He's ahead of Bukayo Saka there, ahead of Jude Bellingham, ahead of Michael Olise, lots of other really exciting names on this list, but Wirtz is right up there. 21 goals scored, a really healthy total. But interestingly, that could be higher as well. We've got another stat here which tells you how often he hits the woodwork, which is quite a quirky one. But as you can see, he's hit the woodwork 12 times in this time period. So that is more than any other player in Europe's top 5 leagues. You see Wirtz top of the pile there on 12. Iñaki Williams of Athletic Club is the only other player in double figures. And then Darwin Núñez, Lamine Yamal, Nicholas Jackson and Jorgen Strand Larsen next on the list. But that just shows you how often he's getting these shots off at goal, and his total of 21 goals in this time could easily be a lot higher.
It absolutely could, especially if he's playing for maybe a Manchester City side, maybe under Pep. They're losing De Bruyne, aren't they? Do you think he could be a direct replacement, maybe?
Well, I don't know about direct replacement. We see their positions here in their heat maps. So this is Florian Wirtz on the left here and Kevin De Bruyne over on this side. So these are for the last 2 seasons in the league. And what you see is that there is a slight difference in emphasis, isn't there? So Wirtz is often on this left-hand side, this sort of inside left position, whereas Kevin De Bruyne plays more on the right-hand side. He's playing from that inside right position. So there might be a bit of reshuffling required by Pep Guardiola, but there's no doubt that Wirtz can provide the same kind of creativity and goal threat. And you see they are operating in similar areas, aren't they? In support of the striker, towards the opposition box, threading passes through and generally causing a lot of problems. So there are definitely similarities between the two.
And there we go.
Yeah, so we've done the positional
over the 90
comparison,
minutes.
and these are the stats. So these are how they compare statistically. So as you can see, Florian Wirtz is actually ahead of Kevin De Bruyne in these last 2 seasons in terms of goals per 90 minutes scored, 0.41. to De Bruyne's 0.25. Now, De Bruyne comes out on top in terms of assists and chances created, as you can see. I mean, incredible numbers here. But Wirtz is not that far behind him, is he? He's in a similar kind of bracket with assists and chances created, and he actually comes out on top in terms of through balls. You see his number per 90 minutes is higher. Final third passes as well. He's slightly ahead of De Bruyne, and take-ons attempted, that last one, a big difference there. So that is something different that Wirtz can potentially add to Man City. He is excellent in one-on-ones. We think of De Bruyne as a very powerful runner, don't we? But he's not so much a one-on-one player, whereas Wirtz really excels in that regard. So some parallels between the two, and you can see why Manchester City are keen to bring him in.
Arsenal, because they've got their eye on a couple of different strikers from Europe, and this man, well, everyone's talking about him, isn't he? Victor Gyökeres. Could he be coming to the Emirates Stadium, do you think, this summer?
Quite possibly. There's been a number of reports that Arteta favours Benjamin Šeško, who Pete will talk about in just a few minutes' time. Andrea Berta, Arsenal's new sporting director, supposedly favours Victor Gyökeres. Now, Andrea Berta has a reputation for bringing in tall, physical strikers into his previous club, Atletico Madrid, Diego Costa, Alexander Sørloth last summer, which is a transfer that's worked out really effectively. And it's no surprise that Arsenal and a number of clubs are looking at Victor Gyökeres. There's a rumoured release clause of around £65 million, maybe just over. But Victor Gyökeres' career has really taken off in the last few years after a slow start. And it is worth bearing in mind that at 26 he is a relatively late bloomer, but was on loan at Swansea, just 1 goal in 2021. But look, as soon as he got to Coventry, 1 season on loan there, and then really exploded. This campaign helped Coventry to the playoff final, where they lost to Luton on penalties. But since going to Sporting, 43 goals last season, 52 this year. And that comes in just 100 games as well. He's been very creative as well, 23 assists. When I watch him play, he slightly reminds me of Diego Costa. There's not necessarily like a very clean player there. It's sometimes a little bit rushed, sometimes a little bit bundled. But this guy has an incredible desire to score goals, and he's done so effectively this year. 38 goals in the Primera Liga alone. He helped Sporting win the league last year. They are level on points with Benfica at the top of the Primera Liga this year. They will win the title if they, beat Vitoria this weekend. Second successive title, winning mentality. He'd be a huge addition for Arsenal. And Pete, the difference between Gyökeres and Šeško is Gyökeres has title-winning experience with Sporting CP. He is that little bit older, whereas Šeško feels like much more of a potential player.
I think that's right, yeah. I think that's right. We can see Šeško in action here, scoring a fantastic goal against Bayern Munich on the break. And I think if you just look at the way he connects with this finish, the outside of his right boot, so much confidence and technique. I think we know that the talent and potential is there within Šeško. Perhaps not the stratospheric goal-scoring numbers of someone like Gyökeres or some of the other top strikers. I mean, if you look at his career path here, and we've got the stats here, when he was coming through at Salzburg, of course, following a similar path to Erling Haaland, there were comparisons at that point. You see the numbers, it's not on the same level as Haaland. Just 21 years old, though, and very highly rated by RB Leipzig. There was a clause last summer, June 24, that he could go for £55 million. Lots of Premier League clubs looking around at him at that point. It didn't materialise. He signed a contract extension, and there's an agreement in place, an understanding that if a big offer did come in for him this summer, then Leipzig would allow him to leave. But, as I say, they rate him very highly, and I think it would have to be a significant offer, probably in the same ballpark as what you might have to pay for Gyökeres to get him into Arsenal.
Yeah, it's going to be a fascinating summer for Arsenal. You imagine they'll look to strengthen midfield, potentially another utility forward as well. So these slightly cheaper forward options could come into play. But Rob, it's going to be a fascinating summer throughout the transfer window.
It would seem. How much of Arsenal narrowed down their search for one?
Do you know what? The latest information we have is that they do not have just one target.
Okay.
I know there's been lots of talk about the fact that their new sporting director, Andrea Berta, wants Victor Gyökeres. Prolific Sporting Lisbon striker. He's got an extremely impressive scoring record in the Portuguese league. And there have been lots of reports that Berta wants Gyökeres, and he's told Mikel Arteta, this is the striker we need to sign. Now, my information is that they haven't yet narrowed it down to one name, which means that somebody like RB Leipzig's Benjamin Sesko is still very much on their radar as well. But what I can tell you is that Mikel Arteta will be seriously backed in the transfer market this summer. He will have at least £100 million to spend, plus any funds that are raised from selling players. It's important to stress that Arsenal, I think, are in a very healthy position financially. They've got no PSR issues. They realise, obviously, that finishing second is not good enough for their fans. They want to back Mikel Arteta so they can win a major trophy next season. That is why I'm convinced they'll be signing a striker this summer. They're very, very confident as well of signing Martin Zubimendi from Real Sociedad. He's a player who Bayern Munich have tried to sign, Liverpool have tried to sign. I am sure that he will become an Arsenal player. They will trigger his release clause, €60 million at the end of the season. So make no mistake, this is going to be a big, big summer for Arsenal and Mikel Arteta. He said it himself a couple of weeks ago that this will be a big summer for them in the transfer market. So I know there's lots of Arsenal fans out there putting pressure on the club to spend big this summer. I'm not saying that Arsenal are going to go crazy. They're not just going to throw their money around. They will still be careful, but Mikel Arteta will be backed at least £100 million. I wouldn't be surprised if you take into account the players who could be leaving if their final outlay wasn't close to £200 million.
And you can't get much for £100 million these days.
No, but really? You have to bear in mind you're not paying that all at once.
No, I suppose.
You know, I don't want to become an accountant and start talking about, you know, how players are paid for.
Yes,
but it's done over the terms of their contract. Yeah. So it's not as if they need to put all the money down on the table.
Yeah.
But I think Arsenal, at least £100 million, maybe even closer to £200 million. So potentially good news for Arsenal fans. £30 million because Ipswich have been relegated. At the moment, what we are hearing this afternoon is that Manchester United are in pole position to sign him. One source has gone as far as telling us that he believes that the deal is very close and the player would be happy to move to Manchester United. Even though United aren't having a great season, he still feels that they're a big, big club. we've heard something similar as well from Matheus Cunha, the Wolves forward, who may well be moving to United as well. I know, looking from the outside in, people may think United are not doing very well. Why would players want to move there? But you've got to remember, Manchester United are still one of the biggest clubs in the world, and a lot of players want to play for them. Although obviously the top players have other options as well. But look, lots of clubs are interested in signing Liam Delap. Clubs like Chelsea, potentially Nottingham Forest as well, would be interested in him. But I think it's interesting that United at the moment are in pole position, and we believe that he would be happy to move there. Although I think maybe we should wait and see what happens in the Europa final next week, because obviously
that money coming in, possibly Champions League.
Well, I think United would be able to pay his release clause anyway. It's £30 million, which in the grand scheme of things, for top clubs, even in the PSR era, even if you're not in the Champions League, United would be able to afford that. But I think from a player's perspective, maybe it would be wiser to wait and see over the next few days to see, for instance, a Chelsea going to be in the Champions League, and Manchester United going to be in the Champions League. But I think regardless of that, I get the feeling that the player would be up for moving to United, even if they were not to make the Champions League.
Table in the Premier League. This is where we will find Manchester United, whose league form woes continue. They lost at the weekend to West Ham. It was their 9th Premier League home league loss of the season. They've dropped to 16th in the table. Nedum, if Amorim doesn't win the Europa League, should he be fired?
Should he be fired? I don't know. I feel like they put all their eggs in the basket of Amorim, to be honest. And as a consequence, you think he's going to be someone that's going to be around long term. So I don't necessarily buy into that. But I think Amorim himself, he's so different to Ten Hag beforehand, because Ten Hag, I feel like he wasn't really that self-aware. This is a West Ham team that, most people thought they'd finished their season a few weeks ago. So I don't think he loses his job, but there's a lot of pressure riding in that Europa League final, because if he was to lose that, considering everyone wants to make Spurs the butt of every joke, like, how do you recover? How do you go into the next season and say everything's going to be okay? How do you say I'm the right person to take the team forward when you look around and the squad's basically going to be exactly the same as it was last year? So I don't think he gets fired, but I think he probably says something quite significant, which will remind all the United fans out there that, maybe that league title isn't as close as INEOS believe it is.
But regardless of a European final, Mario, this position in the Premier League table for Manchester United is not acceptable, is it?
No, I mean, look, even when you watch them play, and I watched them, this season, I saw them live playing, you can feel it, you could feel that the celebration are not for the big things, the celebration are for small wins. And I think that must be hurtful for so many fans, because if you're used to winning big things, now you're celebrating on like trying to win derbies and things like that. They didn't care about that back in the day. I mean, you want to win a derby, but I'm just saying, like, it wasn't like a big achievement, or like if you do well or whatever. No, you want to win the big things, the trophies. And I think now at the point where they are, they say like, okay, we're moving forward, but what did you done? From last season till this season, okay, now you're in a final. So if you got to celebrate them going into a final going forward, I think then it becomes sad. And I think that is the difficulty. Do I feel like they will give him more time? Yeah, like Nedum said, I think they will give him more time. Why? Because he just got there. We cannot say that this is his team. And I think that is the scenario where he will jump on and say, like, guys, I took over the job. I wanted to wait, but you guys forced me to come in quicker than I expected it to be. Okay, then you also have to give me the time. And I think that is what he's going to drive on.
Become the new head coach of Brazil. He will start his new job on the 26th of May. He will be in charge of Brazil for their World Cup qualifiers next month. This means he will be leaving Real Madrid at the end of their season in a couple of weeks' time. Now, this is big news because Brazil, the most successful national team in history, have never had a foreign head coach or manager. But of course, we're talking about Carlo Ancelotti, who is an absolutely legendary manager, has won everything there is to win in the game, not just once, twice, 3 times, multiple times, was also an incredible player himself as well. So he will be becoming the new Brazil head coach later this month, and I've been told that negotiations on behalf of the Brazilian Federation were led by a businessman called Diego Fernandes. He was conducting the negotiations on behalf of the Brazilian side with Real Madrid and also their president, Florentino Perez, and also Carlo Ancelotti. And I think the feeling from Brazil is that they're very grateful to Real Madrid for the way these negotiations have been conducted, because I think they feel that Real Madrid have helped them to make sure that Carlo Ancelotti can be released from his contract early so he can be in charge for the qualifiers next month.
Yeah, because we had heard a little about this, hadn't we? That there'd been rumblings for a little while, that's where he was going. And then, of course, leaving his role open. And what does that mean as well going forward? And then kind of the knock-on effect, really, in this managerial roundabout.
I think Real Madrid had to be careful because Carlo Ancelotti is such a legendary figure.
Yeah.
You know, he's achieved so much at Real Madrid, pretty much every club he's managed or played for. But Real Madrid haven't had a great season by their standards. They lost in very disappointing fashion to Barcelona, the great rivals, yesterday. So I think his departure had to be managed very sensitively, and that has been done. Having said that, it is an incredible honour for somebody who is not Brazilian to be asked to be the head coach manager of the Brazil team. So it is something incredible that he's going to be able to put on his CV. Looking at what's going to happen at Real Madrid, obviously they're playing in the Club World Cup next month. They need a new head coach as well. Now, we know it's an open secret in world football that that new head coach is going to be the former Liverpool midfielder Xabi Alonso.
The Arsenal progress-ometer. There's been a lot of debate about that this week.
I think the progress is going really well. I think I'm with Jamie. I've seen quotes of Jamie talking about the need to win something. But if a manager takes you from 8th in the league for a couple of seasons and then you get a 5th and then 2 seconds, that is progress. No matter what, and let's not forget, they're up against Man City, one of the best Premier League sides ever.
But not this season.
But yes, and then Liverpool have stepped up. But it's very hard, and ask Gary about this, it's very hard to keep going and going and going again. People don't talk about, if Salah was to get injured, if we talked about Van Dijk. When Van Dijk got injured this season, Liverpool didn't do exactly what they were supposed to do. You lose Gabriel, you lose Saka, you lose Havertz, you lose a spine of the team, the big moves of the season. Of course, it's going to affect you. In terms of the next step, I think next season now, there's no excuses. When you talk about bringing a striker in, Osimhen's gone to Galatasaray on loan. Why couldn't it come to Arsenal? I just thought there was short up front, and throughout the season, you know, it played evident that they couldn't get it over the line.
How convinced are you, Gary, that Arsenal under Mikel Arteta are on the right track?
Well, I think it's a great achievement to not win a trophy in 2025 for 5 years and still be the manager of a top club that isn't under pressure from us, from anybody in the football community or even their Arsenal fan base. So I think that's an incredible achievement because we thought those days were gone whereby you could basically have this type of patience being afforded to you.
So you think he should be under pressure?
No, I actually think it's a good thing that for 5 years to not win a trophy, ordinarily there would be a manager under pressure. I think that's significance in the sense that you think that there is progression. I'm glad that on Friday in his press conference he said we've gone backwards in the Premier League because the first thing you have to do after the midweek, they tickled our backs a little bit for last month with the Champions League and it sort of took the heat off them a little bit in how bad they've been in the league, being 13, 14 points off Liverpool. So 13, 14 points from where they were last season and the season before. But they've left themselves woefully short up top and they still haven't got a player in midfield from deep who can receive the ball on the back foot, and Zubimendi we think may come to Arsenal. They've got to deal with that. Partey's not great at it. Declan Rice was proven in the first leg against PSG. He's not great at it. He's better going forward. So those two key positions, they need 2 forwards and they need another midfield player. But the forward part of it, they've signed 1 striker in 7 seasons as a football club. I know I've been arguing this all season. It's ridiculous that they've left Mikel Arteta, or Mikel Arteta has left himself, so short. They spent £750 million and signed 1 striker in that time, and that is not good enough.
So if you, I mean, it's obvious to everyone when you look at the situation they're in right now about the striker, and I'm sure they'll rectify that in the summer and bring someone in. But were you saying this at the start of the season?
A striker?
Yeah.
I thought they should have brought a striker in. Of course they should have brought a striker.
So,
You're the only
no
person
problem.
in March you said they shouldn't bring a striker in March.
No, well, there was no transfer window in March.
You said that they shouldn't bring a striker in. It wasn't a striker, wasn't the problem.
No. So why did you tip them for the league at the start of the season?
I thought they would step up this year.
You just said they were short of a striker.
No, of course.
You tipped them for the league at the start of the season. So don't now talk about because they've had injuries up front, they need a striker.
The season starts
They might need a striker. The point I'm trying to make is if you tip someone for the league, you can't then say halfway through the season or at the end of the season, he should have bought a striker. What was Arteta doing?
Let me
you
finish.
tipped them for the title.
Right, on August the 15th,
yes,
the season
you tipped them for the
starts.
title.
There's 3 weeks left of the transfer window.
Oh, okay.
I thought they would also get a striker in January, and they
who?
didn't. Who? Oh my God, that's like saying who did. Villa got 2.
Who?
Villa got 2 or 3.
Okay.
Villa
You
got 2 or
tipped them
3.
for the
So
title.
Villa got 2 or 3. Are they not allowed to get a striker
He
in
can do whatever
January?
he wants, but who was the name that you said at the time?
I thought Arsenal.
You tipped Arsenal for the title, so don't say now. Mikel Arteta made a mistake about the striker.
Oh my God, Cara, last summer everyone was saying Arsenal's fan base have been saying they need a
what were
striker
you
for
saying?
2-3. And me, I think Arsenal would have won the league this year. I'm hugely disappointed in Arsenal this season not winning the league. I thought they should have been there this season. Nothing to do with Liverpool. Liverpool have done absolutely fantastically well. It's not Liverpool's problem, but Arsenal should be closer to them, and they've gone backwards. And they should have added a striker last year in the transfer window, and they didn't do it. I've been saying that for 2 years, 3 years, Cara. So it's not a case of just saying it now. They should have got a striker in their squad.
Michael, do you think second place is significant for Arsenal? Because that might not happen. That's not a guarantee.
Yeah, they can't let the season fizzle out, of course. You want to finish as high at the table as possible. I think Gary's got a point. I think Arsenal are thinking after the 2 previous seasons that they'll go on and win it this year. Liverpool have gone on and
84
done
points,
that.
89 points.
But,
now this big drop-off.
But every season is different, you know. When we won the league in 2000, we thought next year we'd win it again. We thought that was that, and we didn't. It took us, another year after that to win the league again. Sometimes that just happens, but I think the wider point on a striker, Arsenal need a striker. And you don't have to be Jamie Carragher Monday Night Football to realise that.
1 in 7 years.
And you're still backing for the title?
So what?
you thought they were the best team in the country. The start team, they're going to win the league.
I thought Manchester City would drop off, and I thought Arsenal would repeat what they did last year, was get the points. They haven't done. They're 13 points off it.
Well, I hope you enjoy your afternoon, Gary, and you come back at the end for a longer conversation on Arsenal. But that might be where the day takes us. Who knows? Here on Super Sunday this afternoon.
Talk about what has been, well, a mixed week in Europe in terms of the Champions League for Arsenal, and of course a very good week if you're a Tottenham or Manchester United fan, because of course they are going to meet in the Europa League final, Chelsea through to the Conference League final. We pretty much expected that. But Buddy, let's begin by talking about Arsenal and that second tie away to PSG, which they lost in the end by 2-1, 3-1 on aggregates. I mean, whatever Mikel Arteta might have said in the days subsequently from that, over the course of the 2 legs, they were beaten by the better side, weren't they?
Yeah, I would say so. And I think whoever goes through is obviously the better team side. I think we get sometimes carried away, especially nowadays, in terms of when you look at the numbers and everybody can crunch them together and try and put a positive spin on it. The only thing that matters is the end result, and PSG are going to Munich for the final. I mean, there's no doubt that Arsenal had moments over the 2 legs, but I thought for 20-25 minutes at the Emirates, PSG controlled the game. And Arsenal started really well in Paris, but when they never got that goal early, you felt as if it was only a matter of PSG scoring. That's exactly what happened. Yes, it took a deflection, and Mikel Arteta and Arsenal won't be happy about that, but I think for PSG, they're an outstanding team. The way that they go about their business defensively, but then the transition as well, really, really quick. And I think even what Mikel Arteta has been speaking about after that and saying they're the best team in the tournament, I don't really know where he's getting these numbers from, because even if you look at the majority of, if you go right down through the stats, Arsenal ain't at the top of many of them. I'm not quite sure where he's pulling these numbers from. I get that he needs to put a positive spin on it. I get that he will be happy that his team have went out of Europe, but when you look at overall, they're not at the level that everybody. They're not at the level that Mikel Arteta spoke about after the match.
Clinton, listen, in terms of them being back in the Champions League, it's very much for them. They're in their infancy stage for this particular team. You look at City, how long it took them to finally win the Champions League, having been in it for so many seasons. But he continually talks about how close they are to converting their league position into a title, turning these runs into an eventual trophy. But at the moment, they potentially may not finish the season even second. Man City could equal them on points today, and who knows how the rest of the season then plays out with 2 more games to go after this weekend. Is that "we're close" going to start to wear a little bit thin?
100%. They were close 2 seasons ago. They haven't been close this season, and this was the best opportunity for them to maybe challenge the likes of Liverpool. And I know Man City, all these teams were in the contest at the start of the season, and obviously they've had disappointing seasons. Liverpool have been the better team. This was the best, I think, season, an opportunity for Arsenal to do that. I think Mikel Arteta, and Broidy's right, he's coming out and saying about the stats. I don't care about stats in football. Stats don't win you football matches. It's about putting the ball in the back of the net, and results win you football matches. That's what it's about, and they haven't done that. They didn't do it against PSG. PSG played it brilliantly. Yeah, Donnarumma in the second.
He was unbelievable.
Outstanding. He's been brilliant. He was even brilliant against Aston Villa. I thought he was brilliant, magnificent in the second leg. But he's coming under pressure. So as a manager, you will come out and start saying stuff to defend your team for sure. But yeah, there'll be question marks.
You think there's a chance of Mikel Arteta losing his job?
No, I don't think he'll lose his job. I think they'll back him again in the summer. But I think next season is a big season. They have to
the
win
pressure to get it
season.
right this summer.
Of course it is.
Get that striker in, the right striker.
And get the right,
cut us some slack domestically this season, though, in terms of the league for me, because I think the last few weeks, and I know everybody, we've been saying here for ages that Liverpool are going to win the league. They've put all their eggs in the one basket of trying to get the Champions League, and that's where they've dropped off.
Why are you cutting them slack at the start of the season? He should have been chasing them down. If Man City fall off, then you're the next best team that think you should go on and win it. That's when I will cut them slack over the last month or so, because they've been concentrating on the
and that's where they've dropped the majority of the
that's
points.
where they dropped most of the points. But at the start of the season, during the season, been nowhere near good enough. And Liverpool have been the better team. So yeah, as I said, I agreed with a lot what Boydie said. But the question marks will come over Mikel Arteta. But I still think he'll be there next season. But he needs to win stuff, because Arsenal fans will get frustrated.
Jamie, that's a bit sad. I'm a bit sad. I know you're not. But look, people will talk about the miss of Bukayo. People will talk about a lot of things, but at the end of the day, I do believe that Paris Saint-Germain deserve to go through over the 2 legs, and I have to be. It's not even being good sport. They do deserve it. It does hurt as an Arsenal fan, but you have to congratulate them.
Yeah. I mean, they had to score in that early time, didn't they?
Yes.
Arsenal, they had to score in the first 15, 20 minutes. They had to in there. I mean, as you said, the best team have got through. I mean, that is the final, really, isn't it? We're probably hoping for Barcelona and Paris Saint-Germain, but Arsenal will be disappointed. But as I said, Paris Saint-Germain have been the best team in Europe this season. So,
well, what were your thoughts, Jamie? I haven't been able to hear them for the last half an hour or so.
The best team won. I was impressed with Arsenal's performance in this game. They actually did a lot more than I thought they would, and I think they'll come away from the game thinking they were maybe unfortunate to lose the actual game in itself. I mean, even though PSG missed the penalty, let's not forget. But they put up a really strong show, and I think in that first 20-25 minutes, I think they gave PSG a real scare, and they were very unlucky not to go 1-0 up.
What's your perspective, Thierry?
I mean, like Jimmy said, I mean, the best team went through, and people will talk to me about moment, and yeah, moments do matter, details do matter. Paris Saint-Germain blitzed Arsenal at the beginning at the Emirates I'm talking about, and scored. Arsenal did the same thing at the Parc des Princes and didn't score. And yes, you will tell me that Donnarumma saved it. People will talk to me about the miss of Bukayo Saka. I can go also with Desiree Doué not giving the ball to Barcola. Barcola missing almost a 1v1. Okay, Declan Rice touched it. Then missing a penalty. We can have a lot. At the end of the day, the best team went through. It is painful, but there's nothing really you can say. At one point, Arsenal started to be really direct. Any throw-in, any free kick, anything were played long in the box. No, seriously, and by the way, it works. It did work, but not enough. And there was a difference between the two teams for me.
Does this feel kind of like a coming of age for PSG in some ways for this team?
Yeah, I think so. I think they've looked better than Inter Milan in this competition because that's all that matters now. And I think if you're PSG and you get to the final and you come up against Inter Milan, who are a very good team, but it's not Real Madrid, it's Big Meeks.
Big Meeks, Peter Schmeichel and Donnarumma reunited.
Being ignored.
Will Donnarumma know who Big Meats is?
Big Meats is being ignored. He's just watching, he's letting the goalkeepers have their moment, I think.
I mean, I love that moment. Peter Schmeichel.
Oh,
Look at that.
Lord.
He knows who
He
Big
got some
Meats
love.
is. He's going to ask him now who his favourite is, isn't he? Who's your favourite? It's you. Look at Mike. Michael was asking about his shoulder.
I'm okay, he said.
But listen, this is the man at the moment. He's won the Champions League before. Is he going to win it again, Thierry? Would you make them favourites? You think they've got a really
I go
big
further.
confidence now?
I go further. He won the treble.
Yes.
He can do another one with another team.
Yeah.
So, look, anything can happen in the final. You already know that, Jamie. I'm not going to go there. But what it did is you were saying, like, is it a team that's coming of age? But there's the youngest team that they ever. Normally that happens to. I won't talk about wine and yesterday, but normally that's what happened with, a good wine, a good team. When you have a couple of hurdles and you didn't win, but that team is very young. Most of them don't even know the bad result in Europe. For Paris Saint-Germain, and they don't really care. They went to semi-final last year. They're going to the final this year, and it looks like they might win it. But hey, don't sleep on Inter. It's going to be a very good final.
I'm getting rushed. By popular demand, Micah is not here in the studio. No, he was voted that he should be in Paris, and there he is, man of the people, Micah Richards.
He said, yeah, baby.
Where are you?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Can you see me?
Yes.
What did he say?
Is he a Paris Saint-Germain fan now?
That's what I'm saying. The guy's an Arsenal fan. Look at what he does.
I'm having an absolute great time. This is why you want me on the road, because this is absolutely outstanding. I'm a
Well.
Wow. Oh my God! I'm absolutely loving it!
I don't know how the Arsenal fan will take that one, him being an Arsenal fan and singing Paris Saint-Germain, but he's going to have to deal with that one.
You spoken to him today? Is he in good
Yeah,
spirits?
it was. Did I speak to him? This guy called me, video called me, and I was out of the shower.
Oh, Jesus.
So that's... No, but, anyway. What time this guy? And I was out of the shower. That's my man calling me. So I'm like, okay.
God,
I answer. And it was like with some Arsenal fan. And as soon as I saw it was, I didn't have a T-shirt on and stuff. And I put the phone down. This guy, that's typical him. But then I called back and he was in good spirit. Having I don't know what if I can say, maybe it was or maybe not. Anyway, he was at the terrace with some Arsenal fans, pretending to be an Arsenal fan. An aperitif, yes. And now he's pretending to be a Paris Saint-Germain fan. But anyway, no, he was in good spirit, and it's nice to see him like that.
He's gonna carry on in good spirits. And this is apparently what he's been up to. This is his day so far. Oysters? Is that?
Wow.
Snails.
Oh, he's got a sticky
Oh, did he? Oh,
yeah,
no.
snails.
Oh, no.
It's not
Enjoyed it, huh?
Commiserations, that was Arsenal's first semi-final in the Champions League since the 2008-2009 campaign. How tough is it to take?
Well, first of all, congratulate PSG. They are in the final. It's not about merits, it's actually about what the scoreline shows. This game is about, and this competition about the boxes, and in both games, their man of the match was the same player, their goalkeeper.
Today was Ashraf Hakimi.
Yeah, well,
yeah.
I think it was clear who won the game today for them. And I just spoke to them, and they had the same view on it. So very disappointed to not to be in the final, but we have to accept that the performance is not enough. At the end, you have to have the capacity to win the game in the box.
Who is it that you spoke to,
Yeah,
sorry?
to a few people of them. Yeah.
Oh, and they shared that opinion.
Yeah.
In terms
all of them.
Events within the game, there was the penalty call. You didn't seem happy with that. Of course, Raya stepped up. He made the save. Saka managed to pull one back, but it wasn't enough.
Yeah. That's all in the past now.
Oh, okay. Well, unfortunately, we've only got 30 seconds left, so you can give me a very quick reaction.
I'm good at these. I'm good at these links. No, listen. Listen. When a manager speaks after the game, he's still emotional. I've seen another interview where he says that he feels Arsenal the best team in the Champions League this season and what they've done. That's nonsense. They're not. They're not. He said something similar a couple of days about Liverpool's points tally, and the same one with him. So, no, I think he's just an emotional manager at the moment.
5,
yeah.
4.
So
It's great at these links.
see you in Munich.
Everybody have a wonderful time. See you at the final.